in this meeting is your consent to be, the meeting is being recorded and your consent is your participation in this meeting. Thank you.
It's 10 hours.
Sorry, back to you, Pam.
Great. All right. All right. Attendance. Is Abigail Foster here?
Good morning.
Hi, thank you. Juliet, can you let me know who's in the room as we go? All right, Abigail, are you there in person or virtually?
I'm here virtually.
Okay, all right. Allie Cronley.
Morning, I'm here on the Zoom, virtually.
Okay,
Morning.
all right. Thank you. Andrea Costello. Andrea. Anna Warheit. Carol Marfisi. Neil Brady.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here virtually.
Good morning. George Fernandez. Ginny Rogers. Jay Harner.
Good morning, virtually.
Thank you. Kathy Cubitt.
Good morning, this is Kathy. I'm here virtually.
Thanks. Laura Lyons. Linda Litton. Lloyd Wirtz. Lynn Weidner.
Good morning, I'm here virtually.
Thanks. Michael Galvan. Shell Garrett. Natalia Gomez.
Good morning, everyone. I'm here virtually.
Morning. Rebecca McTaggart.
Good morning. I'm here virtually.
Morning. Ryan Johnson.
I'm present virtually.
Thank you. Just because we started right at the crack of 10 o'clock, has anyone else joined since, any other members joined since I read the attendance?
Good morning, this is Anna Warheit. I'm here.
Okay, hi, Anna. Are you in the room or are you virtual?
I'm virtual, thank you.
Okay.
This is Padraig Tagney here virtually.
Great. I'm sorry, who is this?
It's Padraig Tagney.
Okay, thanks. All right. Thank you. All right. So next, I am going to read off the housekeeping and committee rules. So again, the meeting's being recorded. Your participation in this meeting is your consent to being recorded. This meeting is being conducted in person and as a webinar. To comply with logistical reasons, agreements, we will end promptly at 1 p.m. To avoid background noise, please keep your devices muted and your microphones off unless you're speaking. If you are attending the meeting in person, please keep background noise to an absolute minimum. The room is fitted with ceiling microphones that can pick up everything. One of the chairs will report in-person attendance. Remote captioning is available at every meeting. The CART captioning link is on the agenda and in the chat. It's important for only one person to speak at a time. Please state your name before commenting and speak slowly and clearly so the captionist may capture conversations and identify speakers. Please keep your questions and comments concise to allow time for everyone to be heard. Webinar attendees may submit questions and comments into the questions box in GoToWebinar or use the raise hand feature to be put in queue to speak live. Those attending in person should use one of the microphones and wait to be called upon to speak. The tabletop microphones are reserved for committee members. Microphones are limited, so you may need to wait for OLTL staff to bring one to you. The general public should use the microphone on the stand in the rear of the committee tables area. OLTL staff are available for assistance. Before speaking into a microphone, use the power switch on the top middle of the microphone body to turn the microphone on. The switch should be pushed towards the end of the microphone you speak into. When you're finished speaking, push the same button toward the bottom of the microphone body to turn the microphone off. Time is allotted on the meeting agenda for 2 public comment periods. If you have questions or comments that were not heard, please send them to the resource account email found at the bottom of the meeting agenda and on the LTSS Submac webpage. In the event of an emergency or evacuation, everyone must leave the building and assemble in the First Responders Plaza. OLTL staff will be available in the safe area in front of the elevators to provide any assistance. Please see the back of the agenda for more information. And I also have some emergency evacuation procedures, I think, are in the back of the agenda. In the event of an emergency or evacuation, we will proceed to the assembly area in the First Responders Plaza. That is the space between the Keystone Building and the museum, and it is indicated with a red star on the map on the back of your agenda. If you require assistance evacuating, you must go to the safe area located in front of the elevators. OL staff will be available in the safe area to assist with evacuating. Take belongings with you, do not operate cell phones, and don't try to use the elevators as they will be locked down. Evacuating the forest room from the left side door, exit the forest room at the left side door and turn left toward the double doors. Please note these doors open inward and are not automated. Go through the double doors and turn left toward the stairs. Go down the stairs and turn left. Exit through the double doors on the right onto North Street. If you're evacuating the forest room through the back door, enter the back forest room door, turn right, follow the silver sign for Plaza, turn left toward the double doors, go through the double doors and turn right toward the plaza. After reaching the plaza, go straight towards the blue North End Forster Street sign. Go under the North End's Forster Street Bridge, walk toward the double doors, exit through the double doors onto Forster Street. Okay, I'm gonna turn it back over to you, Matt.
Okay, I feel like I just virtually made that exit myself.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Next up on the agenda, we did the housekeeping. Juliet. Good morning. Are you there? Juliet.
Hi, this is Josh Hoover, everybody. We're not hearing anything coming from the room at the moment if you are speaking in the room.
No, I don't hear you, Juliet. And I'll note there's some emails going back. George Fernandez has joined. I'm not sure if the people in the room can hear us. Oh, yes.
Okay,
Faintly.
great. Fantastic. Vaguely?
It's not optimal, but we can hear you.
Okay, so I don't know if there's a way for us to adjust the volume.
You sound like
Is that better? Okay. Maybe it's this. Let me try a different microphone. Can you hear me better using this one?
It's acceptable to me. I don't know about anyone else.
Okay. Well, then I will get started. Hopefully it works for everyone else. So I was welcoming everyone and the LTSS committee members, in addition to the now 196 individuals who have joined us virtually or in person. So very glad to see so much participation. I also wanted to take a moment to welcome Ryan Johnson, our newest LTSS subcommittee member, representing health plans on the LTSS subcommittee. And now I'll go straight into the updates. If we can go to the first slide, I have a quick agenda for folks. I should also note for folks' awareness, I do have to step out at 10:30, but will be returning, and Randy and my team is graciously going to support the meeting in my absence. All right, so the Office of Long-Term Living agenda, quick procurement update. I want to celebrate some executive orders, talk a little bit about the Rural Health Transformation Project funding announcement, and talk a little bit about the OBRA renewal and CHC Community Health Choices amendments. If we go to the next slide, I'll dive right in. So as folks know, the Community Health Choices RFA, we had announced on August 22nd, 2024, awards for the CHC RFA. There were protests, and on April 2nd, 2026, the Commonwealth Court canceled the RFA awards, not the whole RFA. The CHC RFA is still active. The Office of Long-Term Living remains in a blackout as we contemplate the next steps with regards to the procurement. So what does that mean? That means the CHC program will continue to operate under the current CHC managed care organizations and their agreements until further notice. And the email box remains open with procurement's team. Should anyone have any questions about the RFA and its contents, please direct them to the procurement via the resource account ra-pw-rfa-questions@pa.gov. And we will keep folks updated as we are able to. Next slide. All right, I wanted to take a moment to celebrate some new executive orders that are expanding protections for individuals with disabilities that were signed by Governor Josh Shapiro on April 15th, 2026. And I had the honor of joining the governor and many others and many advocates for the signing ceremony. And so he signed 3 executive orders to strengthen the rights and protections of Pennsylvanians with disabilities and Pennsylvanians with autism. The 3 executive orders will reaffirm the Commonwealth's disability non-discrimination policy, establish new data privacy protections, reauthorize the Developmental Disabilities DD Council, and create a new Governor's Advisory Commission focused solely on people with disabilities, which is something I'm truly excited about. So the first executive order rescinded and replaced the executive order that was put out in 2002 and protects the rights, dignity, and privacy of people with disabilities. We have a link to that executive order should folks wish to read it in its entirety. The second executive order rescinds the executive order from 2006 and 2016 and establishes the Governor's Advisory Commission on People with Disabilities, which will consist of up to 30 volunteer members appointed by the Governor, including many individuals with disabilities, family members, or those with relative expertise, to advise him and his team, the executive team, on issues that are important to individuals with disabilities. And then the third executive order, which rescinded a prior executive order from 1997, reestablishes and modernizes the Developmental Disability DD Council. So really happy to see all of those in place. I'm just going to pause for a moment, Pam, just to make you aware that Shell has joined us at the table. So it's good to see you in person. So she has joined us in case you want to update the attendance.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to the next slide. So the Rural Health Transformation Project, or RHTP, because we love acronyms, has the first funding announcement that was put out via the listserv. It is regarding a rapid response stabilization funding opportunity. It is now live. The application dates are pretty quick. So it's from May 1st, 2026, so it went live earlier in the week, and it goes through June 1st, 2026, or until the authorized funding cap has been met, so whichever is sooner. The total available funding for this first round is $25 million and is available in grant payments between $10,000 to $1 million. It is available to qualified entities, so one is operating in a rural area. So hospitals, healthcare providers, rural health facilities within specific regions. Qualified hospitals, healthcare providers, and rural health facilities are eligible for a program payment for supplies, equipment, renovations, or structural improvements. The payment must stabilize or enhance rural healthcare access, promote rural health and well-being, and fall under one of the following 6 initiatives in the department's federally approved RHTP application. And those areas are aging and access, behavioral health, emergency medical services and transportation, maternal health, technology and infrastructure, and the workforce. And the RHTP plan and application has been posted online at the DHS webpage. So if we go to the next slide. So to receive an RHTP payment, qualified entities must complete and submit the eligibility certification. There's a link to it in the PowerPoint submission, but also available online. There's also a frequently asked questions document and information on the web page, and also connected to the PowerPoint materials that are sent out. So please make sure you review the FAQs prior to submitting an eligibility certification and the accompanying attachments. The Department of Human Services will begin accepting eligibility certifications at midnight on May 1st, so they are currently accepting them now. And there are additional resources. You may have heard us talk about this at past meetings, but for folks who are rural health providers and folks interested in the Rural Health Transformation Plan, we encourage you to sign up for the Rural Health Transformation Plan listserv to receive those important updates in your email box. Because they will not always be brought up here in the LTSS Subcommittee. They may not always be sent out on the LTSS listserv. So really, if this is your area of interest and topic, please, please, please sign up for that listserv for additional updates. To find current and upcoming RHTP funding opportunities, including links to postings and instructions for accessing the funding, there is a web page on the Department of Human Services website under RHTP funding opportunities. There is a link, again, in the PowerPoint that's been made available to folks. And to learn more about the Rural Health Transformation Project, navigate to Rural Health, Department of Human Services, on the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania webpage, and all that information is contained there. All right, next slide. Okay, so as many of you know, the Office of Long-Term Living team was working very, very hard on the OBRA waiver renewal and the accompanying Community Health Choices Amendment. Our Bureau Director of Policy and Communications, Jen Hale, and her team member, Robin Crocus, has presented on that at prior LTSS subcommittee meetings, and it was posted for public comment. So just a couple of things on that. On the Omnibus Reconciliation Act, or the OBRA renewal, for the home and community-based settings rule, if a participant's rights are modified, the Office of Long-Term Living added that the rights modifications will be reviewed by a service coordinator quarterly, on a quarterly basis. The time frame for additional follow-up and resolution for fee-for-service complaints will remain at 45 calendar days, not 60 calendar days as was proposed. And then under the CHC amendment, specific changes for the home and community-based settings rule. The same thing, if a participant's rights are modified, OLTL added that the rights modifications will be reviewed by the Service Coordination quarterly, same as in the OBRA waiver. We go to the next slide. And I should have been clear, these were changes to our submission based on public comments we received. So just to kind of reiterate, we read all of those public comments. We take them into consideration. These are changes and tweaks that we have made based on comments that have been put forward by our stakeholders. All right, so we also received changes that we have under consideration and review for future amendments, because oftentimes there's a lot of work that needs to go behind some of those suggestions, and we always want to make sure that we're doing things methodically, appropriately, reasonably, so that everyone is set up for success. So we are contemplating for a future amendment to the Omnibus Reconciliation OBRA renewal. Is to review and define the waiting list guidelines. There is currently no waiting list. We do not want a waiting list. Our goal is never to have a waiting list, but should a waiting list be needed, because there have been waiting lists in the past, we do acknowledge that we will potentially need to do some more work to review and define how that priority list would occur. We also received commentary to consider allowing job coaching to be delivered as a teleservice. So we're evaluating and looking into that and those implications. It does make sense. Job coaching, as it titrates down from in-person, having check-ins over teleservices, et cetera, could be beneficial based on work sites, et cetera, could be a beneficial modality. So we are taking that under serious consideration. In addition, we're going to be reviewing time limits on certain services like employment services and community integration, and taking a look at that as well. All right, if we go to the next slide. In addition, more changes based on public comment that we're going to take into consideration for future amendments, specifically for community health choices. We received a lot of good suggestions. So under review, our provisional hiring for the participant self-directed model. We have heard this numerous times, that it is something that our stakeholders have been very interested in advancing. Considering teleservices again for job coaching for all the reasons and more that I had mentioned, and then also reviewing time limits on certain services, employment services, community integration, nutritional consultation, pest eradication, in addition to timelines in the review of reimbursement rates, review of community transition requirements, and increased lifetime on financial caps, home adaptation quote requirements, non-medical transportation ride scheduling timeframes, and reinstating support brokers. So again, lots of good comments. Our team and I read them. We take it very, very seriously. So you'll hear me plug again, whenever there's a public comment period, please do take advantage of those. All right, next slide. Okay. And so that kind of concludes my updates as it relates to the Office of Long-Term Living. However, as we move into House Resolution 1, before I hand it over to our next speakers, I did want to bring up a question for the LTSS Subcommittee members. I only had a brief moment to chat about this with the chair, with Matt. So with HR 1, sometimes there are timelines, requirements that we anticipate will come up that may require work outside of our regularly scheduled LTSS subcommittee meetings. And we want to make sure, as was, in the design and the vision of the secretary, that we are utilizing the LTSS subcommittee and all the other MAC committees and advisory committees to the fullest extent possible with regards to informing her about suggestions, feedbacks, and questions related to HR1 over the next several years. And so because it's not always going to be feasible to necessarily line up our meetings with the timelines in our regularly monthly cadence, I am hoping to propose to the LTSS subcommittee some flexibility and gauge your interest in, on occasion, when needed, to call an ad hoc virtual LTSS working session directly tied to HR1 topics, should they come up as the work continues over the next few years, so that this committee and all its members and our important stakeholders have an opportunity to fully engage, and we don't ever miss opportunities to participate in that work. So I'm going to pause there to kind of hear back from LTSS subcommittee members, and Matt, I'll hand it over to you for this portion of the discussion.
Yeah, I'd love to hear some comments. I'm just curious, the LTSS doesn't have any kind of quorum, does it?
Well, the LTSS subcommittee has 2 committee members that are representatives on the HR1 informational committee directly with the secretary. So they liaise back and forth with information from that meeting to these meetings. And so there may be occasions when they're asked to give feedback on things that may come up in that meeting. And so I just want to make sure that there's capability and availability for those feedback loops to occur.
Does anybody have any questions? Karen, do you have a question first?
Matt, did you get your question answered? It sounded like you were wondering if there would be quorum issues if we had an ad hoc meeting. Is that what you were asking?
Well, that's what I was trying to ask. I don't know how many people you would need on this separate call. That's what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, it would be following the Sunshine Act in terms of ensuring that we give adequate notice to the LTSS committee members in addition to the public. Under the Sunshine Act, it's a minimum of 3 days. We certainly would want to try and give as much additional notice as possible, and quorum would be required.
So this is Laura Lyons. I am available to support in any way that I can do so. Thank you.
And this is Anna Warheit. I also appreciate that, and I think it makes a lot of sense, and I'd be happy to prioritize attending to make sure we reach a quorum.
This is Pam Walls. As one of the liaisons to the HR working group, I would certainly appreciate the ability to get feedback in meetings like this. And would prioritize it.
This is Natalia. I will support the forum.
This is Rebecca McTaggart, also a liaison, and yes, I would definitely support that.
This is Kat Cubitt. I also would welcome the opportunity and would support having these meetings.
I also know Lynn has her hand raised, so I want to recognize Lynn as a committee member as well.
Yes, I just had a question about the the provisional hiring. I'm glad to see that it was considered. Provisional hiring allows home care agencies to hire caregivers before background checks, and we don't have that option in participant direction. It takes about a month for participants to begin receiving care in this model compared to the agency model, which is pretty much immediate. which is also, to me, unnecessary because our participants are able to waive the results of the background checks in participant direction, which means that participants who would like to self-direct are ending up waiting for weeks or months for background checks that are irrelevant to their enrollment eligibility. We've been making this recommendation for the last 3 years, and I know we're not alone. There's several other stakeholders, including managed care organizations, that made the same recommendation. I just wanted to know, like, at what point in time will it actually be considered for?
It's 10:30.
Yeah, Lynn. So absolutely appreciate the support for that work and that exploration. I can't give you a specific time frame. There are certainly things that still need to be worked through and considered, but it is certainly something that we are hopeful can be included in a future amendment.
Thank you.
All right. Well, so just to kind of wrap up on the HR1 ad hoc meetings, I think there sounds like a lot of support. Our team will work with the chair and the HR1 representatives to kind of put in place any ad hoc meetings as they come up. For the purposes of folks in the room and the folks virtually, I am handing the microphone over to Randy as I step out momentarily, and we'll be back hopefully within the next half hour. And so, Matt, I'm going to hand it over to you to move forward with the agenda.
Great. Thank you, Julia. And thank you for all of the input on that HR1 discussion. But speaking of which, I guess I'm handing it back to you, Pam, for the HR1 discussion.
All right. Thanks. This is Pam Walls. We don't have a big report back because we haven't had an HR1 working group meeting since our last LTSS meeting, but we do have one coming up on Friday. So we will have a report back about what happens at that meeting at the next meeting. I did want to say I have a little bit of information just from the MAC meeting. I attended the MAC meeting I guess a couple weeks ago as a liaison from the LTSS, and the MAC had asked Secretary Arkush to attend that meeting, and she did, and talked a little bit about the status of planning for HR1 and the role of the MAC and the various stakeholder groups in giving input on that. And part of what she shared is she shared information about the current work going on, and a lot of the focus at this point has been on developing procedures around the upcoming Medicaid community engagement or work requirements. And specifically defining the medical frailty exception, for which they're waiting for guidance from CMS that is due out in June. And she described a lot of the work that they're doing, which is around implementing those work requirements, including creating procedures to try to verify exemptions for people with information the department already has access to the extent that they can do that. So, for example, they're developing a list of diagnostic codes which would verify medical frailty, and which the department could obtain themselves through their MA billing data. So there was discussion about that work that's going on, and I think we're going to hear a lot more about that on Friday that we can report back about. But one of the big takeaways that I had that I wanted to share is that the secretary said that at this point they are not having any deliberations about cuts to eligibility or benefit or services, because they believe that the need for that would be out at least a fiscal year or so. So I just wanted to share that because I know that that's certainly something that's of interest to all of us. And Rebecca, I'll hand it over to you just in case you have anything to add.
As always, you do such an excellent job. Thank you, Pam.
Thanks.
Very great. Thank you, Pam. Thank you, Rebecca. Pam, I don't know. I understand there wasn't a meeting yet, but did you want to entertain any questions?
Yeah, absolutely. If anyone has any questions, and also if there was anyone else who is at the MAC who wants to add anything to what I said.
Well, we can start with that. Is there a committee member that was at the MAC that wanted to add anything to what Pam had said? If not, we'll have a question or two regarding HR1. Is there any committee members in the room that have questions? Is there anybody in the room?
Michelle is there. Michelle Garrett.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a couple people here, Matt.
No, I mean, like, there actually are committee members in the room. Okay. Anybody in the room have questions? Anybody online?
All right, we have nothing in the room.
Nothing online?
If members have particular things that, issues or questions that they want us to try to get answers to or try to get addressed in these meetings, we'd love to have that input as well.
I think we're going to talk about that this afternoon.
Okay.
It's like 12 o'clock. Well, since we've got a few minutes, we might as well open up more public comment, right, Randy? You'd enjoy that.
All right, Matt. So yes, we'll open it up to public comments. Anybody, any comments in the room? Matt, this is a quiet group in the room here.
Yeah,
Paula, anything in the chat?
Hi, Randy. This is Paula. There is a question in the chat asking, this is about the HR1, how can people participate in this work as a person receiving it? I'm sorry, let me start over. This question is from Benita Tillman. How can I participate in this work as a person receiving services?
Pam, can she reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I was going to say, either through questions that or comments that you raise in these meetings, or you're very welcome to reach out to me directly, and we can put my contact information. Can we put it in the chat for her?
Yes, Pam, I can put it in when we finish.
Yeah, that's great. No, I'd be happy to hear from you, and Rebecca and I can share your thoughts and figure out how to incorporate that into our comments.
Okay, I'm sorry, this is Paula. There's another question in the chat from Joshua Koch. As a disabled individual on the Act 150 program, is there a way to express interest in representing my program on the Governor's Council?
I would assume he's talking about the council that was signed in as one of the executive orders. So I think the easiest way is to go on the website and check onto that. But we can check and get back on that on exactly how we're taking nominations for that.
This is Paula. I have a question from Latoya Maddox. When appropriate, do all MCOs have housing navigates? My consumer shared someone from one of the MCOs reached out, completed some documents surrounded housing, and they never heard anything back from them since.
Hi, Latoya. Yes, all three MCOs are to have housing coordinators that work with them. All three of them are in the room, so I'm going to let them come up and respond. Mayor Health. Should be a button that you can push up.
Is it on? This is Missy Weekland with AmeriHealth Caritas. Thank you, Latoya, for your question. We do have housing coordinators. That team is overseen by Jennifer Ford Bay. If you would like to or need to reach out to me personally, you have my contact information, and my email address is MWEAKLAND@AMERITHCARITAS.com. I can get you in contact with Jennifer, and also would be willing to set up a call for you, with you. Thank you.
Thanks, Missy. PHW?
Good morning, everyone. This is Joe Elliott from PA Health and Wellness. We do have a housing specialist who works with our service coordinators to support them while supporting our participants in navigating housing challenges. So if you have a housing challenge and are a PHW participant, you can contact your service coordinator and they would access our housing specialist to help navigate that issue.
Thanks, Joe. UPMC?
Hello, this is, sorry, I'm too close to the mic. David Gamrick from UPMC Community Health Choices. We also have housing specialists that work closely with our service coordination team. They can support participants with a variety of different housing needs. If you need assistance and are with UPMC, you can contact our service coordination team, who will work with the housing specialists to support with the various housing needs, such as rental assistance or housing relocation. So you can reach out to our service coordination team to get that started.
Hey, thanks, folks. Paula, anything else in chat?
No, Randy, nothing else.
All right, Matt, there's no more comments in the room. Would you like us to move on to the next topic, or do you have something else that you need to go over?
I have a question. So I wonder if we could get 3 representatives from the MCOs to come up. It doesn't matter who they are. But last month I asked a question of the 3 MCOs about based on the CAP survey. And their endeavors to meet, because the community activities were so low. And, the 3 of them told us about their great plans and how they were going to increase that. But I don't know about anybody else that was listening. I was less than, I was underwhelmed, to be precise. And I wondered, they had a whole month to think about it, if they had any other thought, since we have so much free time.
Hey, yeah, Matt, I'll ask all 3 of the MCOs to come up to the table, and we can have that discussion.
That'd be great.
Hi, Matt. It's Missy Weekland with AmeriHealth Caritas. Thank you for your question. Since the meeting, we have increased the work group committees that we have on that topic. We are formulating ideas and plans to help to increase the scores, including having very pointed conversations with participants during their person-centered service plan meetings. We are also exploring any changes that we might be able to make to transportation and the amount of time that is needed in order to schedule that. I'm not sure we'll be able to move the mark on that this year, but it is conversations that we are having. We are also going to be talking to our participant advisory councils to brainstorm with participants if they may have ideas on how to increase the ability for participants to get out and do things in the community that they want to do. So we do have a number of ideas that are being worked on currently, and we do plan to implement more than one measure in order to move the mark on that score.
Hi, Matt. It's Olivia Martin from PHW. So we have some work groups that we're forming at PHW to actively try to solution for this problem. And like Missy said, I don't think it's going to be something that is solved quickly, but it definitely needs attention. Right now, we're working with the service coordinators to revamp our person-centered service plan to include a more robust section on community integration and what's important to our participants. I think that's key right there, is to focus on the communication between the SC and that conversation that's happening at those in-person visits, as well as checkpoints throughout the year. So work groups are being formed, documentation is being looked at and revised, and we're planning on holding some focus groups as well, working with our PAC with participants, to find out from each area, the weak spots, the strong spots, and how we can work to improve that.
The whole thing off. Hello, this is Lauren. My last name is Marshall, and I'm a Community Health Promotion Specialist Team Lead with UPMC Community Health Choices. I know I'm not a usual voice at the table, but I'm quite proud of an initiative that our team is heavily a part of, and it's called Community Connections. This is only one facet, but I was given the nod to definitely call this out of our approach at UPMC CHC. So this is something really incredible where we launched this initiative in June of last year. We are rounding up, coming on a year of this approach. It is very person-centered. What Community Connections does, which is what we lovingly call it, when we get to those questions, very similar to what you brought up, Matt, as a response to how can we get people more integrated, oftentimes, service coordinators are doing so much that they don't have the opportunity to really dive in to find those opportunities for social connection. So we thought, community engagement team, the word community is in our job title. So let's kind of approach this more like a concierge type model where there's warm handoffs based on those participants that are identified. So we work very closely with service coordinators, and they are referred to our team. It is a statewide opportunity for all participants, and it is region specific. So that way, once someone from our team is assigned, we get a referral. I assign that out as the project lead to that person based on their location. With that, we get to work one-to-one, and it's not a one-time conversation. We may have biweekly conversations until that participant feels supported enough that they feel that they have enough resources that they need. And this is not a one-time deal by any means, because we also have to navigate some of the challenges, right, that may come up, or they may try something and it's not a fit. One of the things that we focus heavily on, though, is working with our community partners to identify accessible opportunities. I feel like I'm best friends with the Fish and Boat Commission, but that's a side comment. Actually, that's an important segue. Let me pause there, because we did not develop this without feedback from the Participant Advisory Committee. That's the first place we took this. I would be remiss if I didn't say, like, some of my counterparts that brought me into the fold had been working on this previously. So we moved with the times. What we thought was an approach, we kind of positioned ourselves, listened to the committee feedback. We also got input from a core group of service coordinators that wanted to give input to this approach as well. And so we built all this together. We actually then, too, had a lot of the things and information we asked for blessed by
the Department of Human Services so that we could do this, and it has been very successful. We have both qualitative and quantitative scores. I'm not going to bore you with all that, but roughly we have received quite a number of referrals, and we're happy to say that this has also opened doors to working with participants in more rural areas, which is a really tough population to reach. So whether it's connecting virtually or in person in something in their community based on their specific interests, so not this blanket approach, we can get people to doing cool things like finding accessible air hockey for somebody to play with their grandkids, finding fishing spots for someone that thought it wasn't possible, finding bowling, finding the Harrisburg Garden Club. I can't speak enough about them. But these are all the opportunities that are coming from this initiative. So I think that meetings like this are very important, because this too, listening to all of you, has also informed the level of seriousness and our approach that we take to work with our participants this way. Thank you.
Thank you. I listened to all three of those presentations, and I mean, you had me excited, like you cared. I mean, I'm always negative. I understand Patrick has a question. Is it in regard to these presentations right now?
Paula, can you unmute Patrick?
Yes, sorry about that. So my question was more for Julia, but I do have a follow-up question for the UPMC presenter. A lot of the providers of residential services have rec therapists in-house that for years have been able to navigate the community to find ADA accessible community options for CHC participants. So it may not be a bad idea to poll your internal ResHab providers you have in network to better collate a list of those community options that may be available for our shared consumers.
Thank you. That's always wonderful. It's amazing the amount of information that's collected, and also it's really incredible to see the level of seriousness the state has taken, especially in certain counties, with making it more front and center with what's accessible, like the Rails to Trails Conservancy. I love it. They have a huge interactive map with accessible trails in the state. There's a lot of beauty here, and some people have thought, that it wasn't possible. So we're bringing that back, and we're reintroducing this to people, and hopefully from person to person it spreads, and we truly can get back to a sense of healthy community in some areas.
Pat, did you ask your question to Randy?
I'm sorry, Matt, you were breaking up. Did you ask that again?
Oh, I'm sorry. I was asking, did you want to ask your question to Randy, or do you want to wait for Juliet?
I could ask it to Randy if that's all right.
Okay.
Randy,
go ahead.
This is more towards the OBRA amendments and the proposed CHC amendments. One of the things that Juliet was speaking about is defining a better process for coming up with a wait list for certain OBRA services. Will that be applied to the CHC waiver as well?
Yeah, everything that we run through the OBRA waiver is usually applied to the CHC waiver. I'll confirm with Jen though to validate that, because she's shaking her head at me.
Thank you.
Jen doesn't let me speak.
Yeah. Are there any other questions, Paula?
Morning. Yeah, I'm sorry. Morning, Matt. I'm sorry. I just wanted to jump in and kind of clarify what Randy just said for Padraig.
Sure.
So there is currently language in the OBRA waiver around should the state need to implement a waiting list. So the comments that we got were kind of comments about tweaking that process. So it's only in the OBRA waiver. We're not considering or putting language in the CHC waiver that is the same as OBRA. Also, Padraig, it's for entrance into the waiver, not for specific services. I just want to make that distinction. I think you had mentioned for services, but it's a waiting list for entrance into the waiver to receive services. I just want to make sure we're on the same page there.
No, that's an important distinction. Thank you very much.
Sure.
Are there? Yeah.
This is Natalia.
Natalia.
It's not so much of a question, but more like a comment with regards to the presentations on the community inclusion. I've heard there's participants that have also been asking questions as to how to join committees, et cetera, et cetera. And I also hear that a lot of these decisions for the community inclusions are made under the PAC or the Participant Advisory Committee. Unfortunately, and I'm quite sure that there might be other participants because I'm also a participant. Everything sounds very beautiful. It sounds very nice when everyone uses the word participant-centered plans. I always say that we, the participants, feel that we're out in left field. Now, there's some of us who have really hard time with transportation to get to these committees or find out when these meetings are being held. And in writing is very nice. But when you don't have the right transportation to get to these community inclusive meetings or inclusive activities, it's not really there for us. And to hear that, to include it in the assessments or in the plan of services when they do their annual visits or their quarterly, I believe someone mentioned in their presentation, service coordinations or the service coordinator only have so much amount of time to do what is expected of them. There are some service coordinators that don't allow the care team or the team that you want to be there with that interview with you or to participate with you are not even allowed at times. And everything is such a rush because of time. It's disheartening to hear that. Also hearing participants asking how they can become members to a lot of these committees. I've been in these services for almost 6 years and finally got into certain committees and certain activities. And it's still hard to participate in some of those community inclusions because of transportation. So I ask the MCOs that are there, what reality is really being put in place for those of us who might not live rural, but we still have issues with transportation to get to these activities, to get to these inclusive actions, to be part of a community, because that's why we chose the CHC program, because we want to remain in our community, but we just don't want to remain. We want to be actively involved in our community. And I believe that the services are presented, that we can have access to this or access to that, but we really don't have access. And everything is a lot of rush.
Natalia, this is Matt again. Full disclosure, we put the three of them on the spot. I hesitate to use the word presentation because they really did not prepare for that. It was really impromptu, so they were at a disadvantage. But I want to thank the three of them for responding. And who knows, maybe in a future meeting, something like that will happen again. Anyway, I see. Go ahead.
We agree. I mean, transportation is an issue. We've talked about that. We've had committees on it. We've done a lot of work on transportation. The MCOs recognize that transportation is an issue, and that that's part of what we'll work forward as we try to get more community involvement. If you want to get on a committee and you want to attend those committees in person, you need to have that discussion with your SC as far as setting up transportation and working with the MCOs. But we recognize that transportation can be a barrier to being involved, and we are addressing it.
Is there any questions in the room? I don't see anything online.
And we're good in the room. Paul, do you got anything else in chat?
Latoya Maddox has a question. Latoya, you have been unmuted if you'd like to ask.
Yeah, I mean, the lady that just spoke, she basically asked the question. And it was shared that we should just reach out to the MCO to ask the Joint Transportation Committee. So that's what I'll do, because my question is surrounding that. Like, if public transportation or paratransit,
it's 11 hours.
Take us somewhere, and we need to be somewhere, whether it's for ride or leisure, like spent money to go somewhere and then learning 3 days before the event you can't go because transportation doesn't take us there. I'm out of money, consumers are out of that money, and then we're trying to work around Uber and Lyft. Although it is in Philadelphia, depending on what time of day, you're not getting a ride back to the city if you're going to the county, and vice versa. So yeah, I'll just talk to my MCO about joining the committee and see what we can come up with, because something's got to give, because public transportation, whether it's rural or city, it's getting worse because of funding, operational budgets, and things of that nature. So something needs to be able to help us out. Thanks,
Latoya.
If everybody, Lloyd Wertz has joined. Natalia put in the, sorry for the, did you want me to read this out loud, Natalia?
Yes, Matt.
This is from Natalia. Sorry for the lack of a better word. When you have a cognitive condition, and specifically in my case, that gets exacerbated with storms, it's hard to find and express myself correctly. Thank you to each MCO for the update on the topic. Thank you, Natalia. Are there any other questions or comments?
Hi, Matt. This is Paula. Brenda Dare has a comment. Brenda, you are unmuted if you'd like to ask.
Thank you, Paula. It's a comment, and I actually put this in chat as well. I hear each of the MCOs saying they're working on it and they recognize transportation is a barrier to community involvement. And I said this in chat at the last meeting as well. If MCOs are permitted to use Uber and Lyft in areas where that is working well enough to provide transportation for participants, we need equitable services for people who don't have access to those rideshare services. And that can start fairly easily by having MCOs agree that they're going to partner with existing paratransit networks. I understand that that opportunity was given at the beginning of the MCOs coming into service, and it was not successful in many areas, but I think it needs to be revisited because that's a network people are already familiar with using. And if it became available as something they didn't have to pay for, it would help fill the gap. It would not be a complete solution, but I think that needs to happen sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Thanks, Brenda. This is Randy. We are having discussions about that. I mean, transportation is something that we discuss across the state because it affects not only our programs, but we work with MATP and PennDOT. So we are having those discussions.
Hello, everybody. I happen to be able to attend the meeting. This is the Caramel meeting because I have the money that helps me navigate the iPad. So I hope that it's alright that I came to the meeting.
Absolutely.
Down in attendance. I'm glad you're here.
If there's no other questions or comments, Paula, do we want to see if Jill and Dr. Appel are somewhat ready?
Hi, Matt, this is Paula. There is one more comment, if we could squeeze us in, from Cindy Haggart. Cindy, you are unmuted if you'd like to make your comment.
Yes, I'm Home and Community Services Manager from Accessibilities, and we provide personal assistance services. And, we've mentioned this before. I think it's, we always get talked, told that it's double billing, but past providers are willing and able to provide transportation for participants. And we do, in fact, do that on a limited basis because the reimbursement rate is so low. We have to keep the mileage down in terms of errands, prescription pickups, shopping, doctor's appointments, and things like that. We are able to pay mileage and do a reimbursement. There are several times that we would have to go outside of this mileage reimbursement limitations that we have and take people to doctor's appointments, which we do, and we try to manage those miles, in combination with shopping trips and things. But if it was to be a point where you would allow past providers and work with some type of a higher reimbursement rate or mileage stipend, then we would be able to do that and people would get to their appointments if they needed to, especially with their past providers that know them, help them get ready for the appointments and help them get back in the house and sometimes communicate for them. It just seems like kind of a no-brainer, to be honest with you. It's the people that they're most familiar with and want on that trip with them. So that's just a thought that we already have some people in place. And if they can work out that, with the gas prices, what, $4.69 a gallon right now or something, it's tough for people to say that they'll, take people everywhere that they need to go on any given week. So we certainly have the people. We just have to rethink how it's being reimbursed.
So thank you for that comment, Juliet. I figured I should out the fact that I'm now back in the room, and happy to hear that comment. And that does come up quite a bit, the personal assistance services and transportation, and the Office of Long-Term Living has put out policy clarifications with regards to personal assistance services and transportation and when and how that is considered. So, I think the latest update was in March of 2024. That we put out that policy clarification with regards to personal assistance services workers and transportation within community health choices specifically. There's also information for the fee-for-service program. I would certainly recommend reviewing that. It is very detailed about the difference and the reasoning as to why and when personal assistance services can be used or transportation can be used, or the personal assistance service provider is working in each role and why that is, and kind of spells out the billing for that as well. So you may already have reviewed it and you may have questions. We certainly would always be open to feedback on that specific bulletin, but it is out there, so I did want to reference that for folks' awareness.
Okay, if there's nothing else, Matt, Jill and Dr. Appel are here and ready to go.
Great. Well, next up we have the Nursing Facility Quality Incentive Program. Take it away, Jill.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jill Vavakis. We're going to review our Nursing Facility Quality Incentive Program. Next slide. Again. So just a little background, the Nursing Facility Quality Incentive Program, it is a pay-for-performance incentive program and it is required by our Community Health Choices Agreement with our managed care organizations. You can reference the CHC agreement, Exhibit DD2. This is the link to the most recent 2026 agreement if you'd like additional information. This nursing facility QIP is a state-directed payment for Medicaid participants only. Information on state-directed payments and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services approved state preprints can be found at the link on the slide. All of our state-directed payments must be submitted to CMS for approval, and you can find our preprint out there. Next slide. So our nursing facilities, they earn points for meeting performance requirements for Medicaid services provided throughout that performance year. And to be eligible, a nursing facility must be first an open Medicaid facility. They have to achieve a benchmark or incremental improvement on at least one of the measures, and attend at least one Learning Network webinar hosted by the Jewish Healthcare Foundation in measurement year. So just to give a reminder to folks, every Thursday at 2 o'clock, we have Learning Network webinars that are hosted by the Jewish Healthcare Foundation. They have an agreement with our 3 CHC MCOs. And they conduct webinars specifically for nursing facility audience, staff from nursing facilities, and it focuses on ways to improve and achieve the goals of the nursing facility incentive program. We have some wonderful speakers. If you ever get a chance to attend one or more of them, Thursday at 2. We do send out a listserv on this, and the Jewish Healthcare Foundation has all the materials on their website, Tomorrow's Healthcare. The Health Choices managed care organizations must have, at minimum, our nursing facility QIP P4P in the agreement, but they can have additional incentive programs, and most of them do, and if they haven't, they are in the process of developing additional incentives for nursing facilities. Next slide. So here's our goals. Percentage of short stay residents who are rehospitalized after a nursing facility admission. Percentage of long stay residents experiencing one or more falls with major injury. Percentage of long stay residents with pressure ulcers. Percentage of long stay residents assessed and appropriately given the flu vaccine. Percentage of long stay residents assessed and appropriately given the pneumococcal vaccine. And percentage of long stay residents who received an antipsychotic medication. Of course, that number we want to see lower. Next slide. So the Department of Human Services, OLTL, used published statewide and national benchmarks in establishing these QIP benchmarks, and the incentive payment is based on rewarding points for achieving the statewide benchmark goals and incremental improvements. The nursing facilities will be rewarded for incremental improvement for clinical and utilization measures year over year. And measures were developed using the statewide 50th percentile and 75th, 25th percentile, depending on whether higher or lower is better, from the MDS or minimal data set and claims data. And please note that during these calculations, all measures use the total nursing facility population. Next slide. Performance targets. are set on 2026 statewide nursing facility performance by quartile for clinical and utilization measures, and points are awarded relative to hitting specific targets for each metric. So nursing facilities can earn between 0 and 2 points per measure based on their 2026 performance. They can earn payments for each specific quality metric independent on performance of other metrics. And each nursing facility's medical assistance occupancy percentage is used for the calculation. Next slide. So we just received approval for 2024, a little bit behind. Payments are now processing, and the tentative payments for 2024 measurement year range from a high of $100,000 to a low of $2,100. So we have some nursing facilities that are really taking advantage of that incentive plan. The average payment earned for 2024 and eligible for payments is $31,250. And of our 500 facilities who were eligible for payments, all but 11 earned a benchmark or an incremental improvement point. Of the 99 who did not attend a Learning Network webinar, all but one would have been eligible for payments had they attended one Learning Network webinar throughout the year, Thursday at 2. If they would have just attended one and submitted the attestation form to us, they would have earned some sort of incentive. So we have 98 facilities that left some money on the table. Next slide. The deadline for the 2025 attestation forms was March 13th, 2026. With the attestation forms received from the attendance list that we received from the Jewish Healthcare Foundation, we have identified or verified, 499 nursing facilities who attended at least one Learning Network webinar at this time. So we went down one from last year. Okay, next slide. I'm going to turn it over to Larry. Here we go.
Great. Great. Thank you so much, Jill. And thank you all for letting us tell you about this nursing facility quality incentive and the Learning Network. We're very, very excited about what's happened so far since the quality incentive program has begun. We've seen, again, substantial improvement and an excitement with the Learning Network every Thursday at 2. And if it seems like we're an advertisement for that, we unabashedly are. The webinars are great. There's a lot to be learned. I learn something every time I attend, so would really encourage all of you to attend, especially the nursing facility team. So I'm going to talk a little about the service coordinator role in nursing facilities. For the past 3 years, Jill and I have attended the PDANA conference, the PA, Pennsylvania Director of Nursing Association conference, and one of the topics that the directors of nursing for nursing facilities have consistently asked us about are the role of service coordinators and the interactions of service coordinators in their facilities. So the news is good. We've heard more and more feedback that's positive, and we'll get into that another day, but did want to just touch base about what the service coordinator is, and then their role specifically in the nursing facility. Certainly for many of you, this will be a review, but a brief description of a service coordinator's role includes working for or with a health plan and identifying services that the participants need. Their real goal is to understand the services which are available
and to provide which providers offer those services, and then to develop an overall individual person-centered service plan and ensure that the participant receives the services. So it's really starting from understanding what services are there and what the participant needs, and combining those into a person-centered service plan as best as possible. Service coordinators need to assist participants who need long-term services and supports in obtaining the services they need, and lead the person-centered service planning process and oversee the implementation of the person-centered service plans. Qualifications of service coordinators. What kind of credentials are needed? These folks need to be RNs, registered nurses, or they need to have a bachelor's degree in social work, psychology, or other related fields, or they need to have at least 3 or more years experience in a social service or healthcare related setting. So they certainly need to be appropriately credentialed and or experienced. So what about these service coordinators? How does this work in nursing facilities somewhat uniquely? So it's still the role of the service coordinator to develop service plans based on the participants' individual needs and desires in directing their own care while in the long-term care facility. And certainly that can mean a whole variety of things. Upon admission to the facility, what kind of clinical needs are there, what kind of social needs are there, and what kind of, almost to a degree, what kind of end-of-life care, health-related social needs there are in specific often. So these are one of the roles that service coordinators have, developing the service plans for folks in the nursing facilities. And of course, discharge planning is also a key role. Establishing the participants' goals for their stay in the nursing facility often includes discharge goals, and the service coordinator should be available and doing that as rapidly as possible upon admission for the participant into the facility. They partner with the facility staff to get these goals defined and implemented and then achieved, and advocate to ensure the highest quality of care for the participant. They identify participants with a personal goal of transition back to the community, and again, they try and do that as early as possible. And then certainly they make referrals and facilitate referrals for any needs, including clinical needs such as referrals to behavioral health or specialty physicians or other physical therapists, occupational therapists, et cetera. But they also facilitate referrals for durable medical equipment and facility transfers for a whole variety of reasons as well. So you can see that the service coordinator's role in doing this really does involve a lot of interaction with the nursing facility staff and also the participant, and often other advocates and or family members for the participant. And again, we are excited that more and more this relationship is evolving into a very effective model. And we do have the contact information, next slide, for each of the MCOs available if there are any issues, particularly related to the learning network and also service coordinators. And with that, Jill and I will take any questions. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions in the room? I see a hand raised. Are there any in the room though, Randy or Juliet? Sorry.
Yeah, no questions in the room, Matt.
All right, Paula. I see 2 questions up there.
Hi, Matt. This is Paula. The questions that we have are not related to this presentation. So do you want to hold off on those?
Yeah. Let's hold for questions. So no panelist questions at all.
No, this is Pam Walls. I raised my hand.
Oh, go ahead then, Pam.
I've got a couple of questions. First of all, about the quality incentive program. Are the results of the program available anywhere online in terms of what performance measures were improved in various facilities and which facilities qualified for payments?
So hi Pam, thank you for your question. This is Jill. So we do not have the results posted, and we do not have a public list of those facilities that would have received payment. We can provide information about the improvements over the last three years. Because this program's been in place now, this is our 4th year. So we can share that, but we do not have it posted online anywhere currently.
It'd be really, really great to get some more granular data about, which of the performance targets there have been improvements in and to what degree.
Sure.
And, if possible, it would also be great to see which facilities are achieving those improvements. I have a question for Dr. Appel. It's actually not so much a question, it's just a reaction. I really appreciate the description of the service coordinator role in nursing facilities. It's very helpful to hear because it's something that I know I've really wondered about. Just want to say that we see a lot with our clients, service coordinators not being involved in a number of these different things, particularly discharge planning. We get calls from clients who are attempting to get out of a nursing facility, and they're really just working with a social worker in the nursing home and struggling, and and often their service coordinator is not involved at all in that process, even though the person has really been trying to get discharged after a short-term stay or is trying to move back into the community during a long-term stay. So we can supply examples of where we see that happening, and it would be great if the department could take a look at that and really think about how to make improvements and how this really happens. We also, like, I've got clients who would like to transfer. The service coordinators don't tend to be really involved in that, or getting them behavioral health. So I guess it would be useful maybe to get more information about how this has actually worked in particular cases, because it's not really something that we see happening a lot.
Okay, so hi Pam, this is Jill again. So that is actually surprising. We do know that there's a lot of collaboration between the service coordinators and the facility social workers. And in fact, there's been efforts and work groups with the managed care organizations and their network nursing facilities to take steps to improve exchanging information and being more involved in the regular weekly update meetings and those types of things. So if you do come across situations where an individual service coordinator is not involved in the transition process or is having problems with getting the behavioral health services referred, please make sure that we do get those. Because then we can find out what's going on. Also, then as a resource for you, the contact slide there does give you the individual contacts, and we can also make sure that you guys have the contacts for each one of the MCOs for service coordination that is happening in the nursing facility, because there are dedicated individuals from each health plan that participate in the learning network and help facilitate any issues that would be occurring with service coordinators and collaboration with the facilities themselves. So yeah, any cases that you have, we would absolutely welcome you sending them to us for research and resolution.
Great. The other thing that I just want to mention is that, one thing that we see pretty frequently right now is nursing facilities involuntarily discharging residents, and often the discharge location is listed as a homeless shelter. And in those situations, we would really expect the service coordinator to be getting involved, but we don't really see that happening. We've sort of reached out to some of the service coordinators and tried to involve them in the process, but generally we don't see the service coordinators having been in the loop on that, or once notified, really getting involved in it.
Yeah, so again, Pam, this is Jill. That's first I'm hearing of that. If you have cases like that, absolutely get them to myself and Larry. That's definitely something we would want to follow up on.
Yeah,
that's great. We will.
Okay, yeah, please do. We also do work with the Department of Health Long-Term Care Transformation Office, and we have multiple meetings with them as well, and we haven't heard anything from them either about this particular situation. So we would certainly be very interested in ensuring safe discharge and appropriate discharge from all kinds of perspectives. So if you've got cases like that, we definitely want to see them.
And this is Juliet, and I know all three of the CHC MCOs always have representation here at the LTSS committee, and hear the same comments and concerns, and I know they do also take those back and look into those, Pam, so I would imagine they would want to know who those participants are, because it does not do them a good service to have one of their members in a more precarious situation than prior, and so they certainly would have a vested interest in that, and evaluating the root causes of involuntary discharges that I imagine the Ombudsman Office is also engaged with.
Yeah, the Ombudsman Office is very engaged with these. They're really the source of our referrals.
I understand. Yeah. No,
yeah.
all very, very good points, and certainly I appreciate you raising them, and areas for further exploration and opportunities for us, for sure. I did want to note Kathy has her hand up. I imagine we were going to Kathy next.
This is Kathy. Thank you. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh, I thought I was cutting someone off. I had a comment and a question. I in terms of the service coordinator role in nursing homes, I'm not sure that residents actually know who their service coordinator is or how to contact them. And it may be interesting to do a survey just to see, because I think there is a need to do more. I think there's a lot of work between the service coordinators and staff, but I think the residents aren't always aware. I did want to, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to address that, Kathy. Hi, this is Jill. So we have the Medicaid Research Center that is regularly doing interviews of our nursing facility residents. And part of that is, do you know who your service coordinator is? That should be their reports are posted online. I think we're still going through review of this last one for 2025. However, that is one of the areas of the survey, and we have seen overall improvements in the outcome of that since the onset of the program. That being said, you know, we absolutely can, you know, talk about incorporating that somehow. We do have regular surveys of the nursing facility staff that was just conducted by the Jewish Healthcare Foundation prior to Larry and I attending the Padana conference, because we wanted to know, you know, get a little bit of a heads up and provide the survey results to the facilities. And again, we've seen quite a bit of improvement in, you know, collaboration, knowing who the service coordinators are, making sure that the dons are kept apprised of when those visits are and meetings to ensure that not just the social worker is engaged, but leadership of the facility. So I think that that's a great idea. We'll have to talk about how we can expand on the resident surveys. But we do have that already incorporated in the MRC surveys that they conduct for us.
Thank you for that. And I also appreciate your presentation and your work to work on the quality of care in nursing homes. I think the QUIP, the Jewish Healthcare's Learning Network, the work of the Long-Term Care Transformation Office is all critical. My question I have, though, are for residents that live in special focus facilities or one-star facilities, is there any a role that MCOs play to make sure those people, those residents or participants are getting the care that they need or the food that they need? Because I think those are often areas where the care is not happening. People aren't getting enough food to eat, things of that nature. So I'd appreciate any comment on that. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great question. This is Jill again. I think we first response is we do have, like I said, representation from each one of the managed care organizations and point people that work with the Jewish Healthcare Foundation and our learning network that would be able to facilitate additional information for you there. I know that the MCOs collectively worked on a presentation that they had given at the Learning Network, and we were just talking about resurrecting that for the nursing facilities yet again to remind folks about the role and engagement. But I think that's an excellent question, and we should probably open it up to the managed care plans in the room.
This is Rebecca. Can I make a quick comment?
Well, hold on a second, Rebecca. The CHC Managed Care Organization representatives are getting ready to answer Kathy's question. Missy?
Thank you. This is Missy Weekland from AmeriHealth Caritas. And thank you for the question on the nursing facility. So our service coordinators are involved in the facilities, and they are there on a regular basis. If a participant is experiencing an issue that you raised an example, such as not receiving enough food or inadequate care, we can work with the nursing facility staff to try to address that issue. We can also make referrals to the Ombudsman's office, as well as make referrals to the Department of Health if we are seeing substandard care, as the Department of Health does license nursing facilities, and that would be a licensing concern that we would have. If a participant would want to transfer out of that nursing facility based on the inadequate care that they are receiving based on your example, we would assist the participant in identifying a suitable discharge plan or transfer to another facility.
Hi, it's Olivia Martin from PHW. So everything that Missy says is pretty on point and pretty standard for what PHW does as well. We also have our quality of care team internally that we encourage our service coordinators to work with if they are noticing anything, whether it's lack of food or a possible wound or something that isn't quite healing or suspicious. That SC is encouraged to report to our internal quality of care team. So our own investigations do occur. We take that pretty seriously, and we do follow up on that.
Hello, this is David Gehring from UPMC Community Health Choices. Similar to AmeriHealth Caritas and Pennsylvania Health and Wellness, we have a lot of those same processes in place. Additionally, our service coordinators, if they are aware of concerns, in addition to reporting to our internal quality council, they will also increase their frequency of visits at the facilities to make sure that they are checking in on the participants more frequently and working with them if they choose to discharge or need some additional supports, helping identify that and supporting them through that process.
Thank you. What I would add, Kathy, just for your awareness, the complaints, incidents, investigations that are brought forward by the CHC MCOs, I can attest that they do happen. But I also want to point out that they won't be made known to the public. So it's not like we're going to be saying the CHC MCOs submitted 5 incidences at this nursing facility. Just because of the nature and the confidentiality, both of the residents and the need to really preserve the investigative and complaint process, it does seem like we don't talk about it, but I can assure you there's a lot of work that happens in that space. There's a lot of work that happened in situations where there was a high-risk nursing facility where I can let you know that some of the health plans had SCs out there once a week, every week for an extended period of time in certain situations. But again, investigations, complaints, these are not going to be things that we are publicly sharing for very good reasons. So but I do appreciate your shedding light on the issue. It's an issue that will be continual and ongoing. So really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thanks to everybody.
Are there any other questions, Paula?
Hey, Matt, Rebecca McTaggart has her hand raised.
Okay, go ahead, Rebecca.
I do want to, I guess, second or third everything that Kathy and Paula said, because we hear it too. The other thing, yes, and then sometimes the ombudsmans are the ones calling us. And the other thing that I'm seeing an uptick of is I get phone calls about people who have been transferred into nursing facilities because their homes are not ready after inpatient rehab. And what ends up happening is all the progress they've made into physically being independent or pressure wounds being healed, those types of things get worse. And then it's kind of like they don't ever get to leave, because even if their homes are ready, they no longer have the independence they had once they went into the nursing facility from rehab.
Thank you, Rebecca, for that comment. Those transitions of care are incredibly important and impactful, and I don't disagree that it's certainly very important to make sure folks can heal at home as fast as possible, whenever possible. So certainly share your thoughts there.
No more questions, Paula? I don't see any.
Hi, Matt. This is Paula. No more hands are raised, and just comments in the chat that do not relate to.
Yeah, I can't see them.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I apologize. This is Juliet. We can barely hear Paula in the room. I don't know if you can move closer to the microphone or your laptop.
How's this, Juliet?
It's a bit better. Thank you.
I don't see anything in the chat other than. Did you hear me, Paula? If there's questions in the chat, I don't have access. I only have the panelists.
Hi, Matt. It's Paula. I do have comments from the public if you would like to.
We've got about 6 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. Jeff Eisman, you are unmuted if you would like to go ahead and make your comment.
Oh. Okay, this is Jeff from PA Silk. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, the question earlier was, or comment was just on the, for transportation. From what we've heard is with folks in community health choices, it's just a low reimbursement for transportation providers. That's one of the reasons I think there's limited access, whether it's a transit agency or another private company. Some of the private contractors will even go to like ODP, or they'll go to OVR, or just general private options for contracts. And that's part of the reason for limited access, which is particularly problematic in evenings, weekends, and holidays. And I won't go into the employment first discussion, but as Pennsylvania is going to be an employment first state, including CHC and actually other OLTL participants, transportation has to be part of the discussion, affordable and accessible transportation. Thanks.
Thanks, Jeff. I see a hand up.
I'm going to defer to Paula. Sorry, Matt.
Hi, this is Paula. Kate Blaker, you have been unmuted if you'd like to ask your question.
Hi, this is Josh Koch on the Act 150 program. I just had a follow-up regarding transportation as well. Just asking for some clarification from OLTL that has come up with several service coordination entities. As you know, under the ancillary services, transportation is provided under Act 150, but we've not been able to deduct those medical transportation expenses when fee determinations are happening. And the guidelines aren't exceptionally clear, and we've gotten some strange responses from OLTL when asking for clarifications, with the state saying in order for that to be deducted for fee determination, the direct care worker would have to be clocked out when providing those services. So it's not clear if the state is saying that direct care workers should be absorbing those transportation services into their wages. But if you'd be able to provide some clarification on that to service coordinators, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, I think the question goes to medical transportation for it to be deducted from the fee determination versus non-medical transportation. Are you speaking to medical transportation being deducted as a medical cost?
I am.
Clarify my understanding.
It's been denied every year, and it's been clarified to the state that that's the reason for the deduction. And the state has always said that the direct care worker would have to be clocked out for me to be able to take that deduction. And apparently that's been the communication given to other service coordination entities too.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, Josh. I will have my team make a note
And I will follow up with our fee-for-service folks to look into that a little bit further to see where we can provide some more clarity in that situation that could be helpful to you and others in the Act 150 program.
Thanks so much.
So thank you for raising that up. Paula, we do have and Matt, we do have a question or comment in the room. Is it okay to move forward with it?
If it's quick. We're due for a break.
Quick is what Matt said.
Yeah, we're due for a break at 11:50, so please make it quick.
Okay, I'll try to make it real fast. This is Rick from Voices for Independence. And doubling back on a comment I believe Rebecca made, as a provider for different services for individuals, one of the things that we see when somebody goes in a nursing home, we may use CHORE for example. Once that individual is in a nursing home, we may have once the MCO makes a referral to us, we have the approval, we identify it. If they're active in promise, we move forward because we have the approval. The individual goes in a nursing home, we don't know it, we check promise, the states are usually a little slower, and they can't get back home until that's done. So I kind of want to bring that to a head there, because as a provider, services, other providers will stop. They won't move forward with it. So going back to what I think Rebecca said, services for them to get back home stop because they can't get paid. So I think we need to have a conversation about that piece of it, so we can get paid for while they're there, so they can get back home.
I think home modifications are in a slightly different bucket than like personal assistance services and other ones that happen sort of day to day by the nature of your work and your installations, implementations, things of that nature. But very, very good point in terms of really clarifying with our home adaptation, environmental modification providers, the work that you do, particularly if it's a barrier to transitioning home.
Sure, it's all
should certainly be supported. Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
All right, thank you for that. We are scheduled for a 10-minute break. So we will return at 12:02. Two-minute warning. We're going to be starting in 2 minutes. Freshen your beverage, get your snacks, and we will see you in 2. Are we all heading back? It's about 12:02. Hopefully people are still here. Next up, what we wanted to talk about on the agenda is future meeting topics from our members. Something like that. Juliet, right? Are you still here?
Hi, Matt. Yes, we are back in the room. And you are absolutely right. We wanted to dedicate some time in this LTSS subcommittee for future meeting topics for the LTSS committee, things that are of interest to the LTSS subcommittee members so that, they can be discussed and explored here in the public forum. And our team at OLTL can work to support what's of interest to the subcommittee. And so I don't know how you want to do this, Matt. Do you want to have committee members raise hands? And then Paula can kind of call them in order.
Yeah, let's do that. But in addition to what Juliet just said, if anybody has any kind of comments, right, I'm talking to panelists, any kind of comments or grumblings or concerns, I would love to hear that too. Let's see what we can do with this committee. So yeah, I think that's a good idea what you said, Juliet. Paula, can you kind of field the screens or whatever? Does anyone have any thoughts, comments on the committee, the topics, really anything? The floor is yours.
Hi, Matt. We have a hand raised by Natalia Gomez.
Excellent. Go ahead, Natalia.
Thank you for this opportunity. As a participant and as an advocate, I have to make it publicly known that the system and the services, to obtain the services and to reach services, is an extremely frustrating program and frustrating system. And I understand that we are all striving and working towards improvement. But as a participant dealing with this program for over 6 years, I feel, or I don't know if there are other participants, it is my opinion, but if there's other participants on this meeting, it will be nice to hear and see if they feel the same way. I feel that at times there's no accountability, there's no enforcement of accountability as to the way the services are being provided. And I understand that surveys are done. I understand that PAC are used to get information or to obtain idea, but sometimes the most vulnerable ones, those of us who have issues, severe issues with transportation, et cetera, I feel that our voices are not heard. I think that's something that has to be looked into with the home modifications and the adaptation programs. I think um, different conversations need to be had when it's a regular participant that rents a facility or rents an apartment and a participant who is also a homeowner. I think that the language and the verbiage in some forms are not to the advantage of a homeowner. And when it comes to modification, I also think that the accountability of the brokers, of the contractors, of the MCOs, and acknowledging and enforcing how these things are being done. I don't think a participant, PAS and modification are two huge topic for us, the participants, and the challenges that we face in obtaining the services. I think that a lot of times, especially those of us who have cognition issues, is extremely frustrating when we have to fight an uphill battle to obtain services and then feel that the responsibility and the accountability is back onto the participant rather than the MCOs or at some point even the state to hold the accountability of how things are being done.
Thank you, Natalia. Is there another hand I see, Paula? Or is that?
Hi, this is Paula. Lloyd, you have been unmuted. Go ahead and talk.
Thank you very much. And I'm, because of parking issues, by the way, I wasn't able to get to the meeting in person today. I'm off site at a different place. And I might just lose the charge on my laptop as I'm making this question. But we keep hearing about service coordinators and they're being really the crux of the organization of the CHC program in assessing the need for services and then getting those services provided. But we never hear from service coordinators. I'm wondering if it's possible to have a set of service coordinators offer, brief presentations on their work and brief discussions of the obstacles that they might meet. I know that's going to be difficult because they're sponsoring organizations are going to be in the room, but I would think that at least kind of letting us know and setting an example of how they try to do their work and how that sometimes they may find themselves being prevented from doing it as adequately as possible. Just a suggestion.
Thank you, Lloyd. Does anyone else have any comments, thoughts, future topics?
Matt, I have a esteemed OLTL team member that would like to contribute to the conversation and kind of give a response back to Lloyd. Would that be okay?
That would be wonderful. Go ahead.
All right. Hi, Lloyd. This is Jill Vavakis. I don't think it'll be too hard to put something together like that. We have had service coordinators come to at the time it was the MLTSS in the past, and we have had them present at the Learning Networks, the Thursday webinars. So I don't think it would be too difficult for service coordinators to come and talk about their experiences from each one of the MCOs. We could put that on a future desired agenda item if that's what the group wants.
I mean, that really would be good.
And fee-for-service programs. And fee-for-service programs, sure.
That's a good idea. I don't want to see a service coordinator feel that they have to arrange their presentation because they're presenting in front of their bosses. Might be hard to prevent that. But it just occurred to me that they are really the kind of the linchpin, and we should hear from them.
Lloyd, this is Randy. I agree with you. Last year on our on-site visits with the MCOs, we brought service coordination, both HEBS and nursing facility service coordinators in to present to us, also members from the UM teams from the MCO, so we can certainly do that at this meeting.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Matt. This is Paula.
Good.
Carol Marfisi has her hand raised.
Go ahead, Carol.
Hello, Julie. I'm glad to be here today because I have somebody to help me. But my question and my comment is related to the people who were talking about the nursing facility. I think everybody knows that I am anti-nursing, but that be whatever it is. I was wondering, has there ever been a survey why people are so they're empowered by entering alongside their facility and if there is any survey conducted on a widespread community level, why people are like oppositional to nursing homes. That was just my question because if the facility as a group don't know why they get a bad rap, they're never gonna be able to be monarch. They're never gonna be able to become more modernized, and they're always gonna be the same structure. That's all. Yeah, Kathy, would you repeat anything you were that I said?
Hi, Carol. It's Juliet. I just want to make sure that I understood one piece. So my understanding is that you were asking, has there ever been surveys of individuals in long-term facilities and community support services? And then I think you mentioned some additional population targets, but I don't think I quite caught them.
What I said, Julie, has there ever been a extensive survey of people with physical disability, why they are so against entering into a nursing home? That's what I said. Did you get that?
Yeah, so what I think I heard was you were asking if we have ever surveyed individuals with physical disabilities as to why they are against being in nursing homes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So what I can say is the Office of Long-Term Living specifically has not done those surveys. I do know in sort of nationally there has been work on preferences of individuals who receive long-term services and supports, and it's been clear for decades that individuals prefer their services in their communities. And so to be quite frank, the Office of Long-Term Living and the Department of Human Services has, for the last few decades, really been working on the rebalancing efforts into LTSS and has been progressively trying as best as we can to serve people in the communities where they want to be. I think we've got a new high. I might be a little ahead of putting the cart before the horse, but I'm going to do it anyways. I saw the preliminary numbers, and we have hit a new high of 78.8% of individuals served in the communities, up from 78.6. As you can see, I watched that number very carefully. So to your point, while it may be informative to us as to see the reasons why people don't want to be in a nursing home, I'm going to be quite honest to say I would not necessarily want to put resources towards that because it is so commonly accepted at the Department of Human Services and the Office of Long-Term Living from the national information that's gathered from lots of different places, that there's no question people want to be served in the community. So it's not necessarily a question we have to sort of revalidate. We're all in. People want to be served in the community. So I'd rather put resources towards serving them and making that happen. So that's why we wouldn't necessarily be doing a survey from the Office of Long-Term Living perspective.
But I guess what I say is the as they go into a nursing home or whatever, do the nursing home themselves know why people are against going in? I know you are, but I'm talking about the nursing home as a group. Are they aware of the wrath that they get?
I'm pretty confident that they are aware. But it certainly is a good topic, and many of our nursing facilities, are partners in, trying to help folks in short-term admissions return back home, and there are facilities that are working very closely. Their social work teams are working very closely with the CHC MCOs and service coordinators to work on nursing home transition planning. And we know this has been around for a long time. It's not a problem that OLTL can solve alone, but hold on, Carol, real quick. We do know that one of the largest barriers is affordable, accessible housing. And the governor's administration, which I'm very happy to be supportive of, is aware of that, and that's why one of his big priorities and initiatives is the strategic housing plan for the Commonwealth to help address affordable housing, accessible housing, and lots of housing strategies across the Commonwealth. And so if folks haven't seen that housing strategy, strategic plan, I believe it's the first sort of fully coordinated strategic plan that the Commonwealth has had, I would encourage folks to use your search browser of choice and type in Governor Shapiro's strategic housing plan, and all of that information will go up. And the Department of Human Services does have a big part to play in that, in partnership with DCED and other housing partners. So, sorry, Carol, we can go back to you.
Well, can we go back to me? I feel like I'm not getting a chance to talk here. I do want to highlight what you did just say there, Juliet, though, about the housing plan. That is no small thing. So people should go ahead and look that up. Paula, did we have any other questions or comments?
Hey, Matt, this is Paula. Are we taking comments from the public on future topic discussions?
Are there no other panelists? We get together, if I could just say this out loud for a minute, I hear my voice a lot. I hear Pam, I hear Lloyd, I hear Natalia, and I'm not going to go down the list. A lot of people come to this meeting and they voice what they have to say. It'd be great if everyone had some input into these meetings. I'll leave it there. But if no panelists have anything else to say, sure. Let's hear it from the public.
Okay, this is Paula. Jeff Eisman, you've been unmuted if you'd like to make your suggestions.
This is Jeff. First, I wanted to follow up just on the earlier comment on transportation as far as direct care workers. We've heard two issues. One is the rates covering it, and the other one is the liability issue. There's that. In terms of future topics, two suggestions related to the recent directives from CMS, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid, is perhaps at maybe the June or July meeting, we could have an update on what OLTL is doing as far as provider revalidation, if there's anything that's new since the CMS directive. And the other piece is the prior authorizations. They provided some directive. It doesn't, I've heard they haven't provided guidance to states yet on what they want there. I think that might be helpful in this.
Thank you, Jeff. Paula, do I understand correctly that when Natalia made her comment earlier, there was some kind of sound issue?
Hi, Matt. This is Paula. There wasn't a sound issue. It was just that her voice was kind of low, kind of like mine gets sometimes. And I think we all did hear Natalia's comment. If you would like me to have her repeat it, that's fine.
I think that's up to Natalia.
I would like to repeat it, Matt, because I know that it's important, and I believe it's extremely important, because I see there's a lot of issues, and I know that there's a lot of participants here, but we face a lot of challenges and a lot of issues when it comes to the PAS hours, when it comes to the home modification or the environmental accessibility. It's a nightmare, and it's a truly nightmare. And I don't know how other participants that are on this call feel, but I think that our voices should be heard. And I know that we're working on in a work group for home modification. We'd like to get an update as to where we stand with that. I think verbiage in some of the forms have to be discussed when it comes to home modification. There should be a difference between a tenant that rents a property and a participant who is a homeowner that lives in that property, keeping in mind that as homeowners, we have to reimburse every penny that we get. So our voices and our suggestions should be heard. I see a lot of us, the participants, are the blame as to certain things not moving forward when we are doing what we are expected to do. And I think that is a huge challenge and a huge situation for those of us who have cognition impairment, and we need a lot of help in that matter. So I would really, really would love to see that we are really in the center and that our voices and our suggestions are really taken into account when we are being evaluated and being determined for services. Because in writing is very pretty, but in reality, it's a nightmare.
Thank you, Natalia. There are two other questions or comments?
Hi, Matt. This is Paula. I have subcommittee member Lloyd Wirtz, who has a future topic subject.
Please, Lloyd.
Hi, thanks. I just wonder if there would be a way that the MCOs would be able to comment on the financial benefits or losses that are part of a year-to-year spending stream for the MCO, for the CHC MCOs. I just wonder, are there ones who have actually lost money and how have they dealt with that? Are there ones who have, retained revenues, and how are those, if they are, reinvested in the program? I just thought a financial uptick wouldn't be a bad idea, especially considering we're still looking at horrible Resolution 1 and the negative impact it's going to have across the Medicaid spectrum in all states, especially Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Lloyd. Just bringing that up, Juliet, did you see that email? I don't know if you want to talk about that now or what.
That email is very non-specific, so I'm not sure if I want to talk about it now or later.
All right, then I don't mind.
Hi.
Sorry, Matt. Yeah, so until I know what that email is, I can't really say.
That her schedule had changed, and she's no longer able to commit to the. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Rebecca. If you're here, would you like to say it yourself?
Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we
Can
can.
you hear me? Okay, thank you. I have another commitment that used to happen in the afternoons on Fridays, and now they changed it to the mornings. And since I already committed to this group, I'm resigning from my position on the HR 1 committee liaison as the liaison, so somebody else can step in, because I won't be able to. I have to choose between the two, and since the original was my first commitment, I'm choosing that one. But I can go this Friday because I know it's a last minute change.
Okay, that email. Thank you. That's helpful.
I just found out, or I would have sent that way earlier, but I just found out while we were on this meeting.
Well, I guess if any other panelist is interested in taking over that, they should reach out to Juliet.
Yes, that would be great, Matt. Cody Jones was an alternate, but since he is no longer on the committee, we would need to look for additional representatives. For folks who are online and not having the pleasure of being in the room at the moment and feeling the tension between me and a certain LTSS committee member, Garrett, yes, please do send interested names to me, and then I will share it with Matt, and certainly we'll make a selection. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Shell said that she had a question or a comment.
Yes. Hi, Shell Garrett here. We spoke about the survey being sent to random members for data collection last month. So does selection be focused on members of each transportation providers? That way we will be able to capture the detailed information for non-medical transport.
Yeah, so very good suggestion, and you know that a survey of members with regards to non-medical transportation might be something that the managed care organizations may want to do. I believe they do satisfaction surveys with their members, with their transportation broker. I can't say for sure, but I do believe they have some satisfaction measures. But for the surveys we talked about at the prior meeting, the caps, right, around the consumer's experience, by design, they are random. So we would not be able to target the caps at sort of like particular participants in that kind of manner. Sometimes we sort of over-survey in certain areas, so I can see if by over-surveying is like identifying more folks, but we couldn't necessarily target specific because it would sort of undo the integrity of that survey process. I hope that's helpful. But, you know, we'll certainly give that feedback to see, like, maybe you can over-survey to certain populations, but I don't know that for sure, but we'll follow up.
Paula.
Hi, Matt. This is Paula. I have a hand raised by Amy Sharon. Amy, you are unmuted if you'd like to make your comment or question.
This is actually Amy Shannon. It must have put my last name wrong on the form. I was told by the OLTL hotline and my service coordinator to call into this meeting because I am having such a hard time trying to figure out how to have caregivers. I have a spinal cord injury and it's a high level of care. I have things that I need help with, like a bowel program and wound care because insurance doesn't pay for nurses to do those things.
I'm sorry, what was your first name? Shannon?
Amy. My name is Amy Shannon.
Amy. I don't want to cut you off, but I don't know if you want to be sharing like all of this personal information with, there's probably hundreds of people on the line. Juliet, maybe Randy wants to connect, or you. I mean, can you, let me, before I say that, can you use less identifying stuff and explain the issue?
I just can't find caregivers to do the things that I need help with because this is supposed to be non-medical, so I keep being told I can't go through an agency, but I can hire on the consumer model, but I'm not finding any help, and it's getting harder and harder to use PPL for the consumer model because it can take 2 months to get an attendant put on the payroll, and people are wanting like $30 an hour if you're not going through an agency, and I'm not able to get my needs met. This has been a struggle for me for the last 25 years on the program. I feel like the program is like completely outdated. This is like we're like living back in the 1935 when it was all started. Like people fought to get out of nursing homes, and now the nursing homes are being brought into our homes, and the program isn't serving all of the things that people need. Yeah, because of my needs being like more complex than most people, I should be able to pay more to get people to work my cases because they want to take easy cases where they can just sit and not, have to completely get me dressed and shower me and do everything to get me out of bed. And no one is having solutions for me, so they're telling me to come to this meeting to see if I can get any help through you guys. My mom is helping me pretty much all the time, and she's 77 years old, so she can't keep doing this.
Thank you, Amy. This is Juliet. So a couple of things. You had mentioned that you called into the participant hotline. Randy Nolan will be sure to follow up and connect. He or a member of his team will connect with you directly. Just from my purposes and understanding, which program if you don't mind sharing, are we talking about the CHC program, Act 150, or the fee-for-service programs?
I'm on the Act 150.
Okay, I understand.
But I've been told that it would be the same thing on CHC.
Okay. So we will certainly have Randy and his team follow up with you, and it's difficult. You are not alone. In the Act 150 program, for folks' awareness, is not a Medicaid program. It is a state-funded program with state-funded dollars, so it has very limited supports. I think it's a gem of a program, absolutely critically needed and important. I don't disagree with you. I wish I could resource all of my programs. I wish I held the purse strings. I don't. But yeah, it's not uncommon to experience sort of limitations with regards to the Act 150 program because of the very narrow nature of those services. That's not to say that our team is not going to reach out to try and help. We certainly will, Amy, and I really do appreciate you sharing those issues with us today.
Well, I mean, the problem would still be the same on CHC, that the pay is low, that it's really, really limited. So it's really, like, I've been told that it wouldn't make any difference being on one or the other.
I wouldn't necessarily say I fully agree, because in community health choices there are 35 different LTSS services. So, you know, certainly I don't know your situation, but I wouldn't necessarily agree with the person's opinion that they shared with you. But I'll certainly leave it at that.
I mean, either program, they need to be totally revamped to meet people's needs now, because a lot of the caregivers aren't able to drive. So how am I supposed to get out and be in the community for home and community-based services?
I don't disagree with you on that. We certainly recognize that transportation across the Commonwealth has room for improvement that certainly go beyond the Office of Long-Term Living. I certainly don't disagree that, you know, I believe direct care workers deserve a living wage. I think many of us certainly do believe that. That's why Governor Shapiro and this administration is trying to pass again for the third time the minimum wage increase for the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. You know, in that recognition that Pennsylvanians across the board deserve more. So don't disagree with you on that, the point about wages and investments in Pennsylvanians. So hopefully this year is the year that we get to pass the minimum wage for the Commonwealth, and you know, certainly encourage folks to educate their representatives on the importance of the services, because I'm certainly, as I said, I'm all in, as is the Office of Long-Term Living, but I do think a lot of people don't fully understand home and community-based services and its importance, and the direct connection from these services to the ability for individuals to participate in the community in very valuable and meaningful ways. So I would recommend, Amy, also sharing this with your local representatives as well. But thank you very much for taking time to share with us here today.
Can you answer one more question? Because how will the minimum wage increasing affect the wages for direct care workers?
So if the Commonwealth increases the minimum wage for direct care workers who may be compensated below the minimum wage, whatever that new wage would be, it would be raised to the minimum wage. Not all direct care workers today make $15 an hour. A lot more do in participant self-direction based on Governor Shapiro's $21 million investment that he made in last year's budget. You know, a lot more do, but not everyone does. I think we're still slightly below that $15 minimum wage for many direct care workers. And so that would help increase those wages across the board for many Pennsylvanians. In addition, raising the minimum wage is also anticipated to save costs from the Medicaid program, not for LTSS necessarily, but certainly as you look at the Medicaid expansion population. So raising the minimum wage would not only benefit Pennsylvanians across the board and giving them additional spending power and recognizing the worth of their work, it also can save a lot of dollars from the Medicaid program, if you look at it holistically, not just LTSS, which also helps support how we kind of react to H.R. 1. I like Lloyd's description of it, but I won't repeat it, of H.R. 1 with regards to the anticipation of losing investments in our Medicaid program across the board. So that's why kind of like things are very interconnected. So I hope that helps a little bit answer your question, Amy. I'm going to hand it back over to you, Matt.
Thank you, Juliet. We are in public comment time right now, but Paula, I see there's one hand. Is that in regard to the previous topic, or is that a public comment?
Hi, Matt, this is Paula. I cannot answer you on that, but I can unmute Brenda and she can make her comment.
Go ahead, Brenda. And just so everyone, we'll do public comment after Brenda.
Hi, this is Brenda Dare, and it is a comment on future topics. And I know this is a little bit difficult, but I trust that this committee has done hard things in the past. I think that one of the things we really need as receivers of service is an honest discussion about any proposed cuts or even any cuts that are being imagined to in-home services, because if it comes down the pike with 90 days notice, that's a much more difficult thing to deal with than if we know a 10% across the board cut is being considered. And I'm just throwing that out there as an imaginary thing. It's not, I've heard nothing, and I'm not trying to put anything in anybody's ear. But, you know, if we know that a cut is going to be necessary to services for people who are currently receiving, we need to know that as early as possible so that we can work to modify things in our own lives to be able to absorb that. And I think that there's a tendency to say, well, we're trying behind the scenes to stop that from needing to happen. We need some upfront notice. And that's just my comment about future topics, is an honest discussion about what in real life services are going to look like once HR 1 is fully implemented.
Thank you, Brenda.
Matt, can I respond?
You may.
Do I have time? All right, great. Brenda, I hear you. Don't disagree whatsoever. We do want to have those discussions and have them as early as possible. It's also why kind of the HR 1 informational meeting exists, to have those discussions as early as we can and have them honestly and openly and share the information. And I think the Secretary has been very open in terms of where we are and very transparent. And there are no cuts on the table. I'm not sitting there with my team going, let's cut something, we need to cut something. That's not a discussion that's been happening at this stage in relation to HR 1. We had the discussion in September when HR 1 first came out, where we talked about a lot of things and kind of the process of looking at Medicaid as a whole program. And in that meeting, and I will state again today, we recognize that home and community-based services is a cost saver, right? It's a cost saver. It keeps people out of higher costly institutions. So it's not our current target. We don't have any current targets. Our current strategy right now that the Secretary has put out there are strategies, and the Governor's administration, strategies such as the one I just talked about. Raising the minimum wage is also a cost saver to the Medicaid programs. Looking at the strategic investments in health. So if you've heard at the appropriation meetings, at follow-up sort of speaking events where the Secretary has spoken, she talks a lot about the investment in health. There are three very distinct strategies within the investment in health that have proven to save costs in the Medicaid program, while also, and I always think more importantly, improving the health of Pennsylvanians. And so those areas are food, food is health, nutrition is health, and medically tailored meals. That has shown to, improve health outcomes and reduce costs. The second one is investments in the reentry population. When individuals are reentering the community from incarceration, where they should be embraced as full members of our society, they are oftentimes needing Medicaid as they start their journey back into the community. Investing in that and making sure there are strong connections there both improve those individuals' life outcomes as they re-enter as our community members again and decrease future costs. And then the third one is the investments in housing, the short-term housing supports that so often are a critical bridge for individuals in need, particularly medically complex individuals who otherwise would be very frequent flyers to our emergency rooms and hospital systems. So that investment as well has been proven to save costs. So right now our focus is really in making the smart investments that will have sort of long-term benefits, both financially, but more importantly, to the quality of life of Pennsylvanians. So that's our current strategy now. We're not looking at any strategies that are like a 10% cut across the board. We've had to make some decisions in the last fiscal year, as you know, that we had talked about, such as making changes to the pharmaceutical spend on GLP-1s, that they were not going to be covered for weight obesity, only for sort of diabetes. So we had to make those tweaks. And so when we are at a stage where we have a good idea of what dollar amount, if there is one, that we would need to target, those conversations will happen early and openly. We don't want to be making closed behind the door decisions on things that impact Pennsylvanians' lives. In addition, there's a midterm tucked in there, right? So we're not sure. We want to plan for the worst but hope for the best. There is a midterm tucked in there, so, there's opportunities to have some things rolled back. So that's why it's
understood.
And a moving target, but it's really important that you raise this up. So thank you, Brenda.
I appreciate your response. As a person who is higher need, I recognize, the precarious nature of what we're dealing with, and I wanted to open that door again, and it probably won't be the last time you hear from me on the subject. Thank you.
I would say educating your representatives is really important, because while DHS is not thinking about these things, there may be other stakeholders who are, and sharing their thoughts with your representatives.
Yeah. Right.
So
Every day, all
day
long.
That there are folks that are recommending caps and things of that nature, but it's not us. So I would educate your members as to what's most important to you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
Hi, Matt. This is Paula. I have a question from Kate Blaker. Question is, when HR 1 is implemented, is OVR and transportation systems prepared to have the appropriate infrastructure to meet the needs of participants in meeting the employment goals?
So I can say that I am not OVR, but I do know that they are aware of HR1. Ryan Hyde is a very smart man over at OVR, and we do work closely with them. So with regards to HR1 and the workforce requirements, I would imagine they are tracking that and looking at opportunities, because we have been reaching out Department of Human Services and the Department of Labor to talk about ways to support HR1 and the workforce requirements as it relates to the work or community engagement requirements. What I will say is one of the reasons why you don't hear about it a lot in this particular committee at the LTSS Subcommittee is that the majority of individuals impacted by those community engagement and workforce requirements are not necessarily LTSS participants. By the very nature of being an LTSS participant, it is most likely that you are exempt from those community engagements and workforce requirements. So while it's certainly very important, it may not necessarily be as relevant to this committee as other committees like the IMAC, the MAC. So that's, I just want to clarify, it's not that we don't think it's important, it's that it doesn't necessarily have the same impact on this population as it does on others. So I hope that's helpful.
This is Amy Shannon. Can I bring up another topic?
Sure. Go ahead.
Okay, so I feel like people with receiving care are not really considered into like our needs, because the system is like non-medical and non-skilled, which doesn't really fit like my needs. Like there are skills that people need to learn, and it seems like healthcare is filling those things, even though caregiving isn't healthcare. It's really more about life care. It's like living our lives to the fullest. How can we change the system to be more complete, for people to get more training, like direct care workers to get more training and be able to do more things that people need in their homes, instead of learning in a nursing home or like things through an agency that are all healthcare based?
Matt, may I respond?
Please.
Thanks. Really, really good points, Amy. I just wanted to take the opportunity to share some resources. Certainly direct care workers in the agency model, there are training requirements for the agencies and their direct care workers. There's also a requirement that agencies ensure that their direct care workers are trained and oriented to the needs of the individuals they are going to be scheduled to serve. So that's sort of baseline agency requirements in the agency model. For participants and participant self-direction in community health choices, there is a training program, mandatory orientation, that where the direct care worker is paid to attend those trainings. I believe it's an 8-hour training, if my memory serves me correctly. My team will nod their heads or shake their heads at me. But that is sort of, again, a sort of base training, universal training. The Department of Labor put out a grant recently to allow and support in participant self-direction, enhanced training of an additional 8 hours of training on additional topics related to disability in participant self-direction. In addition, the Department of Labor also put out a grant that was awarded to the Pennsylvania Home Care Association to help further support their training availability for direct care workers, which is also available and free online for direct care workers, called My PA Learning Center. I think I got that right. I did? Great. See, I got that right. That any direct care worker can access for free additional training on topics. They're set up in like mini trainings. As someone who, before this role many years ago, used to be in the field, I used to rely on those trainings as well to increase my knowledge on very disability-specific needs. So that's available. I do believe for participant self-direction, some CILs may still be offering managing your personal assistant training, where the participant and their direct care workers attend trainings and sessions with peers together. So that may be available in your local area as well. So these are just some of the resources that may be available. I would hope that if this is an area of interest, that your service coordination entity should be working with you to be able to identify these opportunities to share with, if your participant self-directed, through PPL, or with your agency to better meet your needs. But I agree that a well-trained workforce is an improved workforce. So I think we have common ground there. Matt?
Thanks, Juliet. I will also thank you for that plug for Centers for Independent Living. 12:57. Are there any more questions, Paula?
Matt, this is Paula. Jeff Eisman, if you are unmuted, if you'd like to make your comment and ask your question.
Yeah. Yeah, just a general comment on the scheduling. And I know it's tough to coordinate schedules even within DHS, but there are a number of folks that participate in other groups that sometimes there are conflicting meetings. I don't know if there can be efforts within DHS schedulers to kind of coordinate a little more. I know that's tough, but that's something that would be helpful because I personally get a lot out of it. And I know other people that do, but sometimes you have to be on conflicting meetings. So I want to be able to provide helpful feedback, but yeah, just something to consider in terms of future scheduling. Thank you.
Thanks. I'm going to say we scheduled it first. No, so the first Wednesdays of every month are mine. But yeah, no, point well taken, Jeff. I understand there's a lot of meetings. That's why for us, we do offer the hybrid meeting in addition to the recordings, in addition to our email is always open. So RA-PW LTSS SUBMAAC@pa.gov. That's RAPWLTSS Submac@pa.gov. So our meetings are recorded. You can listen to them. If you have suggestions, comments, questions, use that email box. It's active, it's live, and we can engage even between the meetings that we have. So really appreciate that. Back to you, Matt.
It is 1 o'clock on my watch, so would anybody like to adjourn? I will accept a motion from someone.
So moved from Lloyd.
Thank you, Lloyd. See you all next month.
It's 13 hours.
Thank you. Thanks.